Victoria Bonham, we have been on the road with the Loyal Tour, and some of the policy statements that we wanted to get out, just we have not had the space or the time. And we will continue to put up those statements after the election on the 14th of October. But one I particularly wanted to cover off was the animal policy. And I've been talking to you, getting ideas and getting your written statements about what you feel is crucial in any animal policy statement from a political party that's going to show bona fides to the animal lovers of New Zealand. So I thought rather than do it as a policy statement, I'd go to the source of my advice. You've talked to many others, and briefly tell us your background working with animals in New Zealand before we talk about the ideas you think are essential for a compassionate animal policy. What have you done in your background with animals, Victoria?
Oh, hi, Liz. Yeah, I've worked with animals as a career all my life. I was very involved in the racing industry. When I left school to be a jockey, I've also trained thoroughbred horses. So I have an interest in a first-hand experience in the racing industry. But I've been an animal rights crusader probably since I was about 5, when I gave up eating meat, when I realised where animals come from. But I've always volunteered and helped out, and in the last 25 years, I've been working with the animal welfare side of things, running charities, lobbying, getting involved with government, trying to encourage change and be the voice for the animals. At the moment, I network with the other 72 charities around New Zealand that are going above and beyond for the animals. We are a network. We're the Central Otago Animal Welfare Networks. I run a sanctuary from home, and we've just recently started Ahawa Animal Health and Welfare Alliance, so that we can create a whole new network and system and advocacy around animal health and well-being.
A lot of people think, oh, the SPCA takes care of that. But in fact, in talking to you over the past few weeks, I'm shocked to find there are now many question marks over the SPCA. And your evidence of 72 animal welfare agencies across New Zealand shows me there is an enormous need that is unmet by the SPCA. What is going on as far as animal welfare in New Zealand at the moment? What should we all be aware of?
Animal welfare in New Zealand has gone from bad to diabolical. There is no governing authority looking after the rights and the well-being of animals. There's no accountability. SPCA are a farce, and they do absolutely nothing. They've whittled down their hubs and centres around New Zealand. They've centralised everything. There's very few animal inspectors, and anyone who's had anything to do with them will be able to tell you a story. They've either been turned away, or the support has been given to the animal abusers. We wouldn't need 72 charities in New Zealand that aren't funded if SPCA were doing their job. They're government funded. They get a lot of money from states and wills, and they are doing such minimal work for the animals. It's appalling. It's an absolute farce. Disgusting.
On that note, somebody listening to this now and feeling shocked, which organization would you recommend to leave money to if somebody has in their will a wish to protect New Zealand animals? What's a reputable organization in your mind?
There's many. And like I say, there's 72 charities around New Zealand that do not get funded, that are giving their time and energy. It all comes out of their own resources, their own pocket, and they're at breaking point. There's many on suicide watch. These charities are crumbling. They can't take the influx, and also dealing with the amount of cruelty cases on a daily basis. These beautiful, beautiful people, they can't take anymore. And so I suggest to people, learn who those charities are in your area and give them your absolute support, because these people are going above and beyond and they are witnessing some terrible, terrible things. And
Do you mean the people themselves are on suicide watch because of the cruelties they're seeing?
absolutely, absolutely they are. I have friends that are vets that have worked, well, one particular vet has worked all around the world, working for places like the Soy Dog Foundation, giving her time and kindness and energy in countries that we have thought were quite third world. And she phones me crying, saying that she does not know if she can stay in New Zealand any longer because of our acceptance of animal abuse and cruelty in this country. This is ridiculous.
Vic,
We're painful.
when we get in after Saturday, we will need to get you and some of these other crucial, compassionate, passionate animal welfare leaders to Wellington, and we will need the beginnings of a very important roundtable discussion on how we reform animal welfare fast in this country. There isn't a New Zealander I know who would sanction cruelty to animals. I'm not in this interview going to go into some of the horror stories you know of, but they are horrific. What I want to focus on before this election is the policies that you would most love to see and those you work with would most love to see. Let's go through those now and let's see where the New Zealand loyal policies meet your ideas.
Okay, thank you, Liz. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the cries of the animals. Yeah, sorry, it's very upsetting.
Vic, around this country, we are finding in meeting after meeting, Kiwis saying we have not felt listened to for decades in this country. And so it's not just the cries of the animals. You represent the cries of the people with the heart to look after the animals. I can tell you feel you have not been heard. You have not been honored. I really acknowledge that. And we can turn this around together after this election through listening to your needs and the animals' needs. Thank you for your compassion, Vic. Tell us what you would love to see.
Thank you.
If we came to you and said, we are listening, we want to know what you've seen, what you know, and what you suggest.
We need accountability. That there has to be zero tolerance for animal cruelty, zero tolerance, and there needs to be accountability. People need to be held to account for abuse and cruelty and neglect.
Mm.
You know, that's an absolute bottom line. The chain dogs, no more chain dogs. There's estimated about 250,000 life chain dogs around New Zealand. Some of the rescues are going to places where there is dead dogs on their chains that people didn't even know that had died, that had obviously been there for some time. No more chain dogs. Absolutely shocking. We need free de-sexing for people, and that should be for people, animals, um, for um for pets. You know, there's just so much crazy, unwanted, breeding going on. We need free de-sexing. We also need to shut down these puppy mills. We need to stop the live exports from these countries, incredibly cruel. We need to look at these houses of horror, these slaughter places, and look at the halal killings, which is basically cutting the throat and hanging them upside down to bleed to death. We need support for good animal owners that are struggling. We need accommodation for people that have got pets that have been pushed out of their homes and are looking for rentals. We need kindness taught in our schools. We need, to encourage empathy, compassion, helping the animals, not going into schools teaching children how to kill animals. We need to take the pest agenda right off the radar. The pest agenda is a license to kill, and it's also an ecocidal and genocidal agenda.
On that
You
note,
know,
Vic,
and we
we are
don't have time.
absolutely against 1080. The way animals die with 1080 is beyond cruel. And I've certainly talked to the Graff brothers about that, to Clyde Graff about that.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank you very much, Liz, because that has to stop immediately. It's government testing has shown that it is right through our whole food chain. The meats, the milks, the cheeses, the honeys. It's our food chain is contaminated. In 1 part per trillion, it causes birth defects, cancers, and sterility. That's 1 part per trillion. This has infiltrated our food chain. It's infiltrated our environment, our rivers. It's infiltrated everything. It's evil. There's no other word for it.
Of the policies you've outlined, we would want to, as a listening group of representatives, get you around the table with our farmers, for example, on live exports. Certainly, I believe there are far better ways to export meat to Europe than what I understand happens. And I think this is the key, Vic. What a governance of New Zealand loyal representatives will do is listen to all sides and bring you around the table, and let's talk to one another and find the ways to do it in the most ethical, the most compassionate way, which also serves the financial interests of those who are trying to export meat to other countries. But we need to talk to one another. Would you be happy with that? That and the halal killings. I didn't realize the animals slowly bleed out that way. That we need to really bring to the people of New Zealand as well, for us to have more awareness, more discussion, more openness. It's a huge part of New Zealand Loyal, that we all begin to listen in respect to one another.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And the thing is that, I believe, most of New Zealand are still incredibly good, kind people. And, no matter what walk of life we are in, we come together, from the heart, and we have these discussions, and we all want what is best for our animals if we're good people. And we cannot leave the animals off the ark. They are them, we are us. There is no difference. They suffer just like us, and they have seen the worst of human nature. They absolutely have. And they're living the hell that we are so desperate to avoid. And we can turn this round. It's not rocket science.
I believe also training our young in compassion to animals is a crucial part of growing balanced and ethical and humane individuals. I remember interviewing years ago an FBI expert who said, we can tell often if somebody has a proclivity towards crime by seeing their background. If as a child they were cruel to animals, they will often grow into some quite serious criminal behavior given the opportunities. So animals are a key to healing a society. I totally agreed with a lot of your policies. Your policy about renters being able to find accommodation and take their animals, that's a key, because I gather you're getting many abandoned animals now because renters can't find homes which will accept their pets. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a huge part of the problem, massive part. And these are ripping families apart, families that are already struggling and going through really difficult times, having their pets ripped away from them is causing them extreme misery. And and for the pets as well. It's not okay. We're hearing too, I mean, that the councils aren't allowing elderly to take their pets into the council flats. So
Oh,
they are having to euthanize a lot of them feel they have to euthanize probably the only friend that they've got left in the whole world. How is that okay? How is that okay? In a compassionate, in a good community, that is not okay. It is disgusting.
It's brutal, Vic. I am so glad we have had, if only a taster of the conversation that we could have after the election. It still draws people's attention to one thing, and it's this: that New Zealand Loyal is committed to helping our animal communities and the friends who stand with them. We are committed to investigating what's gone in the government-funded SPCA, what has gone so wrong there. And we are committed to listening to what the people who love animals in this country really want. So, Vic, this is really just a starter. It's to be continued after the election this Saturday. But I so respect and appreciate you and all like you who are standing up for the most vulnerable. The children and the animals in our communities are the most vulnerable, and you're standing with the animals. Thank you, Vic.
Thank you. And thank you, New Zealand Loyal. God bless.